This may come as a shock to all of you, but I've never actually given birth before. In fact, I've never even been pregnant. But my mom has, obviously, and she taught me a lot about pregnancy since for many years she led a high school program for pregnant teens, those young women who decided to actually keep their babies. She taught them how to cook, how to breastfeed, how to do taxes, how to parent. And she helped those girls move throughout all the stages of their pregnancy. Naturally, and much to my disgust as a young teenage boy, I got all the details. Many of these young mothers came from very rough backgrounds: broken homes, alcohol and substance abuse, poverty, and in most cases, the dad was already long gone. Don't get me started on men and their commitments. These girls, these mothers, went through so many hardships during the course of their pregnancies. I remember in particular one young 18-year-old mother whose parents kicked her out of the house and was forced to live in a tent at a campground nearby all by herself. Punishment for getting pregnant. So much pain, hardship, loneliness, ridicule, and abandonment. But quite often, my mom would be the first person that they called as they went into labor. She'd go to the hospital, and later she would tell us that the joy on their faces, the happiness after giving birth, was the happiest that she ever saw them. It is the human condition for our greatest experiences of joy to be mixed with such depths of struggle and sorrow. Like a rose with its vivid color and sweet scent, connected to that stem covered in thorns. Or like those 9 months of morning sickness, sleepless nights, cramps, and an unusual desire for large amounts of ice cream, only to end in the joy of childbirth. Holding that newborn baby in your hands, so small and fragile. Mother Church is no different. Today, the church calls us to rejoice. There's roses on the altar, festive music, organ, feasting, the blessing of expectant mothers after Mass, all because very soon she, the church, will be giving birth. Mass began with the exultant chant, Laetare Jerusalem, rejoice Jerusalem, and be glad with her. Jerusalem, that symbol of the church, now rejoices in her pregnancy, the coming spiritual birth of these, our brothers and sisters, who in just a few short weeks will be reborn at the sacred font, and that spark of divine grace will illumine their souls. And so we're encouraged to rejoice with Mother Church, even in the midst of our own personal and collective sufferings, the nausea and vomiting that accompanies this hormonal change. It's often said, and I believe it's true, that there's a particular glow about a woman when she's pregnant, especially during and after the second trimester. Today, the church takes on that same glow as she enters her own last trimester. Her cheeks blush, and she grows excited at the new life to be born in her. And in fact, we are all participating in bringing about new life this Lent. As we continue our Lenten practices, our prayers, and our penances, we ourselves vomit out all of our selfishness and vices. We endure growing pains, we hunger and we thirst. It can be very painful, and it takes time. But look at the fruit that it's bearing. Look at the souls being claimed for Christ, the thorns and sufferings of this entire last year leading to the bloom of new life. In the gospel today, Christ, the light of the world, comes to man born blind and heals his physical eyes, but even more amazingly, heals his eyes of faith. All those years of darkness, suffering, and loneliness ended. And yet the Pharisees doubt and question him. They poke fun at him. They even throw him out of the synagogue. In the same way, our Lord has opened our eyes to see, the eyes of our elect and candidates, to trust and to love him. And so we profess today, Lord, I do see, I do believe. My dear elect, those to be baptized in such a very short period of time, we know that this journey hasn't always been easy. We know that your coming baptism has already brought you some suffering, some conflict perhaps. Family, friends may have abandoned you, others ridiculing you, not understanding what in the world you're doing. A sense of loneliness, intimidation, or even fear. But take heart, these rites, these prayers that we offer for you today are for your encouragement to persevere, to know that you are not alone, but are members of this family here at this parish, that you hasten on towards the great Easter night with joy and expectation. It is then up to us, the rest of us, to not abandon these, our brothers and sisters, whom Mother Church is carrying so tenderly in her womb. We have to continue praying for them, to reach out to them, and then be willing to join them, like my mom did for those young girls in the hospital, to join them on that most sacred night of their birth. For on that night, Mother Church will bring them to rebirth as all infants are born, in blood and in water. Water will be poured over your heads, washing you clean from every sin and stain, and granting you divine life and relationship with God. And then blood poured forth from the side of Christ into that chalice on the altar, present on your lips, and filling you with his love and mercy. How overwhelming, how humbling, and how bittersweet these mysteries to be revealed to us in the weeks to come. It is the human condition that our greatest experiences of joy be mixed with such depths of sorrow. Perhaps that's what makes them so beautiful and powerful, making our faces radiant and glowing as those young teen mothers were when new life was born in the midst of their pain and their suffering.